Hi, this is Mike with Dyno. In this video I'd like to show you the proper way to tune motorcycles for drivability using the Dyno dynamometer. Drivability testing is really important. There's a lot of money to be made from customers who want their motorcycle to run smooth, accelerate well around town. Not all dyno testing is about wide open throttle or maximum horsepower. There's a lot of customers that just want to make their motorcycle run nice and smooth and try to have the correct air-fuel mixture. And even they're looking for more mileage now that gas prices have gone up, so you can tune some of that too. But basically what you want to do, this particular dyno is a 225 HP floor unit. And what we're using is the air-fuel accessory tool that reads the air-fuel mixture every 250 RPMs in increments. So basically what you've got a way to read the air-fuel throughout the RPMs that you're testing, and then you can go back to your fuel controller, which on this one we're going to be using a power commander that's attached to the computer on the motorcycle. I recommend you get a fuel controller that you can hook a computer to because it gives you more adjustability. You can actually get into the 0, the 2%, 5%, 10%, 20%, 40%, all the way up to 100% throttle positions. You can get into all of these columns and make changes as required. So I would always get something that requires a laptop or just a PC that you can hook up to when you're going to really get serious about drivability. So generally what we do is we start with 0 throttle position, which is an idle. The engine's sitting there idling, and while the engine's idling, you can read the air-fuel mixture on the display of the software for the dyno. And you just actually start turning the throttle, say 1500, 2000, 2500, 3000, and you look at the air-fuel in each of these positions. And if you need to make changes with your power commander in a 0 column, then that's where you make those changes. You either add fuel or take fuel away. Generally, I look for about 12 to 12 and a half at an idle or just off of idle. That generally will give you some nice drivability without fouling the plugs. So if you stay in that area, it doesn't matter much if it's air cooled or water cooled. If you're using pretty good fuel, that's a pretty good number to stick with from what I've seen. Once you do that in the 0 throttle position, then you get on the motorcycle and you put it in the upper gears. And this bike will use 5th gear. And there's a technique to read the 2%, 5%, 10%. Each of these throttle positions are done the same way. What you end up doing is you actually bring the motorcycle up to the gear that you're going to use, which is 5th gear, and then let the engine slow down to where it runs smooth, as low as it'll go and still run smooth. This bike is around 1500 to 2000. And at that point, if I'm going to read throttle position, what I'll do is I'll push on the rear brake gently, I'll roll the throttle, and I'll look at the display for the power commander. When I see 2% throttle position there, then I'll push the red button to start recording the air-fuel with the dyno electronics. At that time, I let go of the rear brake and hold the throttle position at the 2%. That allows the engine to accelerate at 2% while I'm reading the air-fuel mixture. And I let it go as high as it'll go. It may be 2,000, 4,000, whatever it'll go to. And then I push the button and stop the record for the air-fuel. And then I let the engine slow back down, and I do the same thing at 5%. Push on the brake, turn the throttle to 5%, push the button, let go of the brake. Let the engine accelerate, holding it at 5%, as high as it'll go. It may go 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, and then I'll stop the test and roll off the throttle. And I'll repeat this process at every increment that's on the power commander. So 2%, 5%, 20%, 40%. You can even do it 60% if you want, but most of the time you don't have to. Normally up to around 40% throttle is all you really have to do for drivability. So each of those increments, you can get a reading up to about, say, half of maximum RPM. A bike like this, you probably wouldn't want to take it above 6. It redlines at 11. If you had a V-twin that redlines at 6,000, you might only want to take it to 3,000 or 3,500 because you're probably not going to be above these RPMs as you're cruising down the road or just on the highway. And so there's your drivability. Half of maximum RPM, less than 50% throttle position. That's where you want to do your tuning for your drivability. I forgot to mention that a lot of times you can find a map that's pretty close to whatever exhaust system you have, and I use that as the base map. I just install that map and then I improve that map. So that saves you a lot of time and effort when it comes to tuning this. Most of the time you can do this procedure in about a half an hour, and you let it cool down maybe 10 minutes. Every 10 or 15 minutes you let it cool down, say 10 minutes. And so you can end up half hour, 45 minutes, you can have this procedure done. And then you want to let it cool off so you can do wide open throttle testing if that's what you need to finish up, to finish tuning the motorcycle. If you're doing carburetors, if you've got a bike with carburetors, you do the same thing. Other than having throttle positions like on the fuel controller, you just put a little piece of tape on the throttle and mark it 25%, 50%, 75%, and then of course wide open. And you just take your readings at 25%, see what the air fuel is, push on the brake, turn it to 50%, let go of the brake, record. Same procedure, just take it up to 50%, and you can see what you may need to change. If in the quarter throttle position, you may be looking at the needle, you may want to raise the needle, lower the needle, or you may want to change the pilot jet, go up or down on it if it's too rich or too lean. And you can tune about any throttle position you want if you can just push on the brake, roll the throttle, and then hit the start record button, roll the throttle to the RPM or the throttle position that you want, and just let it go as high as you want by watching the tach. Push the button to stop recording and let off. Carbureted motorcycles really benefit from an air-fueled tool because when you start doing testing, whether you're doing wide open throttle or part throttle, you need to know which way to go. So if I did a wide open throttle test on a carbureted motorcycle and it was reading 11:1 air fuel, I would know I probably have to go down 1 or 2 sizes on the main jet. If it was reading 15 or 16:1, I would know I'd have to go up 1 or 2 sizes on the main jet to try and get into that 12.5, 13 air fuel mixture that tends to work on most motorcycles. So that saves you a lot of time when it comes to pulling carburetors off, air boxes off, and going through all that work, and you're just guessing on which way to go. Most of the time you go in the wrong direction. At best you've got a 50-50 chance. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take a reading at 2% and 5%. And what I'll do is, like I said, I'll hold the brake, turn the throttle to 2%, push the button to record, and let go of the brake. Now it doesn't sound like I'm doing much, but I'm actually letting the engine accelerate on its own, just as if I was going down the road. Okay?